Getting cold out there, so today we're going to talk about Jack Frost, the subject of myth and legend and a character in a Russian fairy tale. Jack Frost is the personification of frost, cold, sleet, ice, everything winter. A variant of Old Man Winter. Sometimes he is Old Man Winter, sometimes he's his son or his jester. In folklore and mythology, he's held responsible for the feeling of cold, for nipping at ears and nose, for leaching color, leaving frosty patterns on windows, and definitely started out as more of a big, strong, bearded man character. Starting in the 19th century, he started becoming more of a mischievous sprite, but a lot of people think he started with more Scandinavian and Norse winter customs. The first time in English literature that he was given the name Jack Frost was in 1734. He's mentioned in many songs, most famously the Christmas song, the chestnuts roasting on an open fire, Jack Frost nipping at your nose. But we're going to talk about Russia, where he goes by the name Morozko and has a cool fairy tale. Here's a cool picture where he's showing off some frosty cheeks. In fairy tale tradition, the story starts off with a stepmother who has a daughter of her own that she loves and adores, and the daughter of her husband who she hates and treats terribly. Even though, of course, the stepdaughter is super lazy and the protagonist is very industrious, good, and never complains. The story says our protagonist was as good as gold and in any other hands would have been swimming in milk and butter, presumably given all of the treats because she's wonderful, but she washes her face every night with her tears because her stepmother abuses her. Now, very much like in the fairy tale by the Grimm brothers, brother and sister, stepmother is like, get rid of her. I want her dead. And she tells the father, who is present during all of this, I want you to take her out into the middle of the snowy woods and leave her there to die. And the dad weeps and he's really sad about it, but he does it. He leaves her out in the cold to die. She waits out there to die until Jack Frost Morozko shows up, looking really creepy here. And he's like, hello, maiden, it is I, Morozko Rubynose. And she is immediately kind and warm and polite to him, and that's the key. Here he is looking a little more Father Christmassy and less creepy. He's like, welcome, hi, it's great to see you. God must have sent you to comfort me. And he's like, oh yeah, are you cold? And she's like, no, I'm not. I'm perfectly warm. He crackles and snaps his fingers more than ever and makes her really cold. And he's like, you cold now? And she's like, no, I'm still warm. Actually, this picture fits how he's acting right now better. So he's like, making it colder and colder. Are you warm? Are you warm? And she's like, yes, dear sweet Father Morozushko, being all kind to him and lying. So this impresses him. He loves that she does not admit that she is freezing to death, either because she's not complaining or she's being stoic and brave. I think the most important part is every time she talks to him, she's calling him pet names, she's being respectful. So he wraps her in furs and warm coverings, brings her a high, heavy coffer full of gold and silver, a bridal gown, like the biggest dowry and riches and warmth that you could imagine, like the thing that a girl needs to get a good husband and make her way in the world in this day. Back at the house, it says the stepmother is frying pancakes and she looks at her husband and she's like, hey, get out there and bury your daughter. I'm sure she's dead now. And the husband's getting ready to go, but there's a dog under the table that's like, bow wow, she is warm and has silver and gold. Your daughter's ugly and lazy and no wooers are gonna want her. And the stepmother talks to the dog, not surprised by this speech apparently, and she's like, shut up, here's a pancake. Now say that my girl's gonna get all the wooers and that girl's a pile of bones out in the woods. And he eats the pancake and he's like, no, still true. She's out there wrapped in gold. She's gonna have the wooers. Your daughter sucks. Very Magic Mirror or the Magic Trout from the Scottish Snow White. So they do this dance where she keeps trying to give him a pancake to say what she wants and then he does it and then she beats him until the dad finally walks in with the daughter, very much alive, covered in gold and silver and furs and carrying the huge coffers full of money. And so the stepmom is like, ooh, well, if that happened to her when we left her alone in the woods, husband, take my daughter out there. Go leave her alone in the woods so the same thing will happen to her. But I bet you can already guess it won't go the same. He shows up and asks this girl if she's warm and she's like, oh my God, go away. Can't you tell I'm cold? So he gets angry and freezes her to death and she dies. The stepmother back home is like, okay, husband, go get her and bring her back with all her gold and silver. And the dog under the table is like, hey, she's nothing but bones out there. His daughter's the one who's gonna get everything you want for your daughter. And she's like, shut up, here's a pancake. The doors burst open and the words of the story are that the nasty old woman went out to embrace her daughter, but only embraced a cold corpse. She howled and cried and lamented her wicked ways. If the name Morozko sounded familiar to you, or the whole idea of a maiden being in the woods and denying that she's cold to some kind of winter demon, it's because that happens in The Bear and the Nightingale. It's basically a retelling of this story and lots of other Russian fairy tales. Very cool. I know Jack Frost is the main character, I think, in Rise of the Guardians, which I've never seen. I just remember him maybe being a Tumblr sexy man and people shipping him with Elsa. I don't know. But what I want to talk about is 1979's claymation TV special, Jack Frost. It's made by the same people who did the claymation stop motion Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, A Year Without Santa Claus, with the Heat Miser and Snow Miser. The story takes place in medieval Russia, and Jack Frost wants to become human for a while because he falls in love with this human girl, and so Father Winter grants his wish, and he goes around trying to kind of Little Mermaid his way into being human. Every single song is a banger. The story is told by a groundhog played by Buddy Hackett.
Me and my shadow, not a soul to tell our troubles to.
With all the notoriety, the fame that nature gave to me, it's lonely being one of a kind.
I'm Kublai Khan. I could have been a shogun. But there are no samurai around here. There's the rub, there's the rub, there's the rub, there's the rub, rub-a-dub-a-dub-dub-a-rub.
That's the bad guy, if you couldn't tell. I hope you like the story of Morozko and learning a little bit more about Jack Frost. Check out my podcast, Folktales and Fairy Lore. Link is in my bio. My book, Dust Spells, which is a reimagining of the 12 Dancing Princesses. Keep warm out there, and if Jack Frost comes along, be nice.